Hey everybody, just going to take a quick break from the show to get you styled up with Stitch Fix. Shopping's hard. It's hard. With Stitch Fix, you get a stylist, though, who understands your style, your size, your budget, and they do all the shopping for you.
Wow.
This is excellent. Shopping, I'm telling you, shopping and figure out your style, it's overwhelming. Let somebody help you when it comes to getting dressed. We don't know what we're doing, so we let Stitch Fix help us out. A Stitch Fix stylist there. They know what works on us. We get the prices that make us look really good, and it feels good. You get some confidence boost walking around knowing that you're looking decent here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we just give the stylist our sizes, style, budget preferences. We order boxes when we want, how we want, no subscription or any of that required. And they send called Just For Me pieces as well. Like, maybe you'd like this, and it's awesome. Outfit recommendations, styling tips. You keep what you love, you send back the rest. It's super easy.
Yep.
You can do it, and we are doing it because it's excellent. Personal styling for everyone. Get started today at stitchfix.com/STM. That's stitchfix.com/STM.
Now back to the show.
Hey everybody, just going to take a quick break from the show and tell you about Noom. Has Noom helped you? I believe it has.
Oh, that's got an app. You can do tracking. It's terrific.
It does. And Noom builds personal plans that can meet individual needs. That's the thing. Takes into account any dietary restrictions, medical issues, other personal needs. That helps build a plan that works for you. And yes, so I know that you've had your own personalized program here that you've been working on. And
it's weight loss This is weight loss results that last. They stick around because you get yourself into a lifestyle change. That's what matters.
That's mainly it. You can't just say, I'm going to cut that out for a month and then go back to it. That's not what it is. So I'm glad it's helping you. That's great. And it really does. I like the psychology and biology-based approach here. Yeah. Noom Weight uses psychology. That's why they say losing weight starts with your brain, but it also takes into account your unique biological factors, Jimmy. All of your multitude flora and fauna that goes on inside of you there.
Sure. Yeah.
Stay focused on what's important to you with Noom's psychology and biology-based approach. Sign up for your trial today at Noom.com, Noom.com here. Based on 3.5-year study of actively engaged Noom users with minimum starting BMI of 25. Individual results may vary. Visit our website for more information.
Welch's knows some things make zero sense, like why the algorithm knows your music tastes better than you do. But zero sugar and full flavor? We made that make sense with new Welch's Zero Sugar. All that passion fruit or tropical punch goodness and none of the sugar. You gotta sip it to get it. New Welch's Zero Sugar. Let's fruit stuff up.
Hello, and welcome to Small Town Murder Express.
Yay!
Yay, indeed.
Choo-choo.
Yay, indeed, Jimmy. Yay, indeed, and choo-choo. Indeed. All aboard the murder train, everyone.
Here we go.
My name is James Petrogallo. I'm here with my co-host.
I'm Jimmy Wissman.
Pulling away from the station. Thank you so much for joining us on another edition of Small Town Murder Express. We have an insane episode. This episode... We did this story very quickly before we start. We did this story for a virtual live show months ago.
Yeah.
And basically there's a lot more when you see the virtual live show. You're going to get all the odds and ends. But the core of this story is so insane that it needs to be told on a grander scale. The people who paid for the virtual live show, obviously, they got a little more story. But this is it's one of the craziest things we've ever talked about or done. It is like... It's Mr. Magoo. It's crazy. We'll talk about it. It's insanity. Okay. Quickly, before we get to that, just want to say, obviously, thank you for all that you do for us. Yeah. ShutUpAndGiveMeMurder.com is where you get all your tickets for live shows, merchandise, everything like that. And if you want even more crime and sports and small town murder, you can get that on Patreon. Patreon.com/crime and sports. Anybody $5 or above, you get access to everything that we put out. Crime and sports bonus, small town murder bonus, and this week is no different. Very quickly, we have for crime and sports, which of course you get, we have this NASCAR driver, not a NASCAR driver, he showed up at a race, faked his qualifications, crashed like 5 times, and then disappeared. No one ever heard from him again. And everyone until about a month ago, he came out and was like, all right, I'll tell the story after 40 years. And it's the craziest story you ever want to hear. And then for Small Town Murders bonus, we are going to talk about, this ties into a couple of episodes we've done recently, when people blame pop culture for murder, basically. If whether it's he listened to that song and then killed his friend, so that must mean the song made him kill his friend, or video games or movies, or anytime that's blamed for stuff. So we'll talk about those. There's a bunch of those cases. Patreon.com/crime and sports is where you get all of that, and we'll give you a shout out on the main show there on Thursdays. So that said, let's get into this, Jimmy.
All right.
Let's do it, and let's clear the lungs, I believe. And sit back and shout, shut up and give me murder. Let's do this, Jimmy.
Okay.
Let's go on a trip, shall we? What do you say?
Terrific.
Let's go. We're going to Indiana today, to Hammond, Indiana, which is not really a small town. It's more like a small city, like a very small city in terms of cities. But it's shrinking rapidly, number one. Oh. And at the same time, what goes on here was on the outskirts of town. And in addition to that, it is just panhandle from top to bottom. So it fits into what we're doing here. It's
like Daryl Hammond? That Hammond?
Exactly, like Daryl Hammond, except not as good at impressions, Indiana.
Not as fantastic.
Not as great as them, unless they're pretending to be Iowa, because it all looks the same pretty much. This is in northwestern Indiana. It's about 30 minutes outside of Chicago, so it's technically a suburb of Chicago here. Yeah. We'll go over 2 seconds of history because the story's wild. History very quickly. June 22nd, 1918, something wonderful happened there. It's called the Hammond Circus train wreck.
Oh.
Wonderful. About 5.5 miles east of the city, killing 86 people, injuring 127. Dead clowns littering the landscape, Jimmy. I just imagine it's a colorful, it looks like a Civil War battlefield, but with color everywhere. Just like green and neon and orange and shit. And
weird colored hair everywhere.
You look over it, there's smoldering, and then you just hear like a sad mush.
The train came off the tracks?
I don't know what happened. There was a crash.
Drunk driver?
Either two trains on the track. I don't know what happened, but I don't care because I think it's a lot of clowns died. If any non-clowns, obviously that's not good, and I feel bad for them. No. But any clowns that were killed in this deserved it, and I feel like they're
some mistreated animals, though. That's sad.
That's sad. We don't know if there was any animals. This might have just been the people trains. I've read nothing about injured animals, so I'm hoping. No. It's just 86 clowns. That's what I'm hoping.
No bears on a unicycle?
No. This was like a clown meeting that was going to like the central office or something.
100% clowns.
All clowns.
Yeah.
Dead clowns. 86 clowns littering the landscape.
Heading to corporate. One of them pinched somebody's ass, and we all got to talk about it.
Clown corporate. Yeah, you got to do that. How close? This week's course is how close do you get to the kids when you're making balloon animals? It's a very, very fine line, I feel like, for clowns. So Hammond has gone into decline a lot from the 70s and 80s. In 1980, there was 94,000 people. In 2000, there was 83,000 people. And now there's about 75,000 people. And it just keeps kind of declining over the years. Thinning out here. I'll give you one review of the town, and then we'll get right to the murder quickly. Okay. This is a 1-star review. And there was 5-star reviews here and there, but this is pretty funny, so I have to read it. 1 star. Living in Hammond has been a really bad experience, in my opinion. Well, I mean, your opinion's the only one that counts when it's your life.
It's the one that matters, yeah.
I'm not sure why it's considered a, quote, suburb when it's anything but. You have ignorant people outside all hours of the night blasting music from their cars, having parties, and just not caring about their neighbors and how they would feel. I feel unsafe every day in Hammond, and I can't even walk down the street without some pervert in a car slowing down to try to talk to me. And this is from a guy named Frank, so it's really tough in Hammond. I mean, they'll go after you. I don't know who it's from.
Really like that ass on you, Frank.
Hey, Frank, look at you. Yeah, you know what you're doing with that hairy ass crack sticking out the back of your pants. Come on, Frank. Give me a piece of that, Frank.
Some form-fitting Wranglers, Frank.
It's a hot day, Frank. Hop in. It's nice and cool in here. Come on. So, some pervert in a car. It's noisy, especially when it's the summer, because kids want to stay out all day screaming and making so much noise that you can't focus on the task that you're doing.
They promote primal screams there? Is that what it is? You have the kids out there letting it all out?
It's a screaming hour. You send your kids outside to scream in Hammond. It's a tradition there. So that's what's going on in Hammond at this moment.
That is a very fun review. All the ignorant people out here with their cars.
Any review that has the word perverts in it, I have to read it. That's going to be funny.
Ignorant people, perverts, and screaming children.
Screaming children. And poor Frank. So 75,000 people, like we said. That said, let's get into this murder.
All right.
We go back to 1983 when it was in decline, but a few more people were here. And let's introduce to a family. And if I remember, you remember none of this story, I assume, because you drank a lot that night.
I don't know where Hammond is.
No, you drank a lot you saw pictures of it and everything that night, and you don't remember shit. I know.
I don't remember ignorant people.
Nope, perverts and everything else. So this murder, we got to go back to 1983, like we said. Here's the family. First, Paul Kamyatti Sr. we'll talk about.
Kamyatti.
Komyatti. Kamyatti.
Wow.
Okay.
That's a fun name.
It's a fun one. Senior. All right. So obviously there's a junior lurking in the wilderness somewhere.
Little Paulie's out there.
Little Paulie. He's 65 years old in 1983.
Okay.
He's a retired construction worker.
Oh.
And he's also a huge alcoholic and
all right.
Very strict, domineering father and husband. Really,
I know the type.
Yeah, he's an alcoholic who likes to keep a tight ship in the house. Yeah. In February in 83 here is February 1983. I'll give you an overview of the home. We have his wife, Rosemary. Mm-hmm. So it's Paul and Rosemary. Their son, Paul Jr., obviously. Yeah. He's 17. Their grandson, Jason, is also there. Oh. And Jason's mother, Mary Ann, who is Paul Sr.'s daughter, but not Rosemary's daughter, I believe. Okay. Rosemary's stepdaughter.
Stepdaughter in the house with their baby. Got it.
With the baby, then their kid, Paul Jr., they're all there. Okay. Yeah. Everybody here, it's all full house over there. So Paul Sr., because of the full house or because he's an alcoholic, spends most of his time at the local bar.
Yeah, I would too.
All there. He plays pool and darts and all that shit. He's retired. Yeah. He drinks beers with the fellas and plays pool and darts, which would be fine.
The dream.
If you didn't come home and,
beat the whole shit
beat the shit out of the family and scare the hell out of everybody. So he's also a heavy smoker as well, which is great when you're 65 and an alcoholic. That's very healthy. So good for you, Paul. He's living the life. He's living the life he wants to lead. Yeah. We'll put it that way. It's not a good life, but it's definitely what he's
living
looking
a very
for.
1983 retired life.
Yeah, he's living like one of the dock workers on The Wire is what he's living like. This isn't a good way to live. So everybody, they had moved into this home when the kids were little, and they've lived here for a while now, 15 years or so. Paul, always miserable. He's always miserable, because, he's an alcoholic, which isn't helping, and a miserable guy. Paul Jr. said at one point he could never even remember his dad laughing or smiling ever. So fun guy, really.
Yeah.
Never laugh, never smile.
Really?
Least demonstrative person going, apparently. He'll yell at you and beat the shit out of you, but, if you tell a good joke, you're not getting a fucking thing out of him, which is tough.
What the fuck?
He's a tough crowd, Paul Sr.
Do we know what he did for work?
Paul Sr.'s a retired construction worker.
Construction?
Yeah, so his body probably hurts, too. If you did construction till you're 60, that hurts,
Nothing's funny anymore.
Nothing's funny anymore, yeah. Plus, maybe he has a very specific... You've been on a construction site. It's a very specific sense of humor, and I feel like maybe that's his sense of humor, and he's like, I didn't hear anything. I didn't hear a racial slur or anything about a dick in there. I'm not laughing at that, basically.
I heard nothing about, and I smacked the bitch. I heard nothing.
Nothing about that. Nothing derisive of Mexicans. I feel like that's not a good joke. If you threw in something about Mexicans, I could have laughed at. I could have laughed with you, but otherwise, it's not going to work.
I get it. A Jewish guy, a Russian, and a Mexican. I get it. Listen, my back hurts.
Never mind. All right. Yeah. I mean, he's basically Archie Bunker, but an alcoholic at the same time. Right. So he also has emphysema this moment, and he still smokes like a fucking chimney. Also just had heart surgery recently as well.
Oh, it's all going great.
That doesn't stop him at all. Just drinking and smoking and playing pool and doesn't give a shit. So doesn't care. Drinks all day, by the way. This isn't like every night he's sloshed. Booze with breakfast.
Oh, boy.
Oh, it's yeah.
What goes, yeah. What do you drink with your breakfast?
Grey Goose and grits, man. It's grits and goose is what he's drinking. It's not good. Instead of water.
Eggs and a Coors Heavy.
He doesn't use water. He just uses vodka. He's like, that'll do. So
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, every day is white lady brunch for this guy. Every day of the week.
Yeah.
It's woo.
Yeah. Mimosas at 5:30.
Give me a mimosa. That's what I want. And some hollandaise sauce, because that won't make me sick. Booze and hollandaise sauce in the morning is perfect.
Yeah.
Oh, it's room temperature. Excellent. That's perfect. So.
Eggs, Benny, and fucking mimosas. Ooh. Jesus.
Yeah, he's doing it early.
5:30. Biscuits and gravy and a fucking White Russian.
As the sun comes up. Well, I think a White Russian would go with biscuits and gravy.
Think so?
White gravy.
No.
Well, that white gravy, I'm thinking
sweet.
It's like a white wine with fish. You know what I mean? I feel like the colors match up at least, so it would go that much.
No.
What, oatmeal, you think, then? What do we put? Let's put it together a menu, Jimmy. Let's talk about this. What are we doing?
Hard booze and breakfast?
Yeah, let's get into this. What are we talking about here?
What's a Jack and Coke and ham and eggs? Is that what it is?
What's wrong with this? I feel like we got something. I feel like we really got something here. Real booze
Captain and Coke and Lucky Charms.
Because a mimosa is just going part way. A mimosa is just like, we're going to drink in the morning, wink, but there's some orange juice in it, so no, fuck that. We're going to lean into it hard and be like, get shit-faced and eat breakfast. That's going to be our slogan.
Yeah, all that is putting bubbles in your orange juice, a mimosa.
Yeah, there's like, who cares?
If we're really going to do it, let's fucking do it.
Yeah.
Shots of tequila with this fucking...
That's it, man. I'm telling you.
Shots of tequila with my fucking Grand Slam.
Hard-boiled eggs and Boilermakers, everybody. Line them up. Line them up. Instead of dropping a shot into that beer, drop an egg into it. Let's go.
Old-fashioned and hash brown.
That's what
Oh, God. I'm going to be sick.
Well, our restaurant is going to do well, I think, anyway. I really do. You don't have to serve the food. I feel like we're not going to serve it, but we can open it, and I feel like it's going to do great.
Hell yeah. We're going to be standing there with our arms crossed for a while, I think.
That's right. Everybody. Yeah. We're going to need bouncers.
Corned beef hash and a gin and tonic. Come on through.
It's going to be good. Plus, it'll be the only breakfast joint that needs bouncers. That's the other thing. Most breakfast joints you don't really need. We have...
There's be some angry people.
Oh, fist fights at sunrise.
8:30.
You motherfucker. Pow. Hey, calm down, everybody.
That's funny. I'd love to see it.
It'd be good. I think
fist fights in a Denny's.
Yeah, that's what I was. See, that's extra. That's extra. It's extra flavor and texture. I feel like
you
we
may
got
not
this.
like your gin and tonic, but when you wash your blood down from your bleeding mouth,
you're gonna want that way
from table 4.
You're gonna want that cold Bloody Mary to put against your swollen lip. She got in a fight over there with people in table 4. So
Bloody Marys are hard. That's straight. I mean, that's vodka. That's a heavy drink for 8 a.m. And I've done that a lot. So
again,
I don't see why not.
It's got tomato juice in it. It's not. It's fine. If there's juice in it, that means it's okay to have before noon. Yeah. That's the general rule, which I don't get.
Sometimes I'll go to these places and it tastes like straight gasoline. And I'm like, can you put more tomato, please?
A little more.
At least let's not taste the vodka. This is crazy.
Hey, look, we have an understanding here. This is not... I'm not an alcoholic if this tastes like tomato juice. Understand? Right. That's how this works. If I don't taste tomato juice, that means I have a problem. Right. Otherwise, I can rationalize it. So help me.
Do you see me visibly shaking? More tomato then. If I'm shaking, I get it. I need the octane. But right now, no.
Help me help myself, please.
Yeah. I've just got kids with me. I'm trying to tolerate this shit.
Oh, my God. So Paul Sr., he'd get mean then when he'd be drinking. So he'd be mean from the morning because he's drinking from the morning.
Sure.
Rosemary, his wife, on the other hand, is known as very timid and very kind to everybody and nothing like Paul, basically. Nothing like him
or
at all.
Or she's had her spirit broken over the years.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. Whatever the culmination of this is, that's how that's where we are. That's where we stand in 1983. Paul Jr. is a senior at Morton High School. He's got good grades, plays on the football team.
Oh, yeah.
He's doing real well. He plans on going into the Air Force after graduation. He's very excited here. So Paul Jr., though, said that his father would just beat the living shit out of him. Everybody said that, like when he was little. Yeah. At one point, his father beat him so badly that he developed a stutter.
You knocked a stutter into him.
Yeah, he beat the speech out of him, which is like a Stevie. What happened to Stevie in the documentary?
Yeah,
he beat a speech impediment into him. That's pretty rough.
He did great, and then Dad hit him, and he hit him again. Maybe he'll start talking straight.
It's like a cartoon. Maybe it's like Looney Tunes. I mean, so
Cousin Eddie's daughter.
yeah, Cousin Eddie's.
Her eyes were crossed.
Yeah, that was great. So they'd take him and run away to her sister's house, Rosemary, and then they'd go run away there. But Paul Sr. would come after them and,
beat them in a different venue?
To come and get them and bring them back.
Oh, yeah. Got it. Yeah.
Paul Jr. said, quote, "There were occasions where he would stick a gun next to my head and he'd say he'd blow my head off if she didn't come home."
So loving.
So she, put it on the kid, too, as the onus on him to get the mother to come back home. Also chased Paul down the street at one point, waving a gun around, threatening to shoot him in the back. And neighbors saw this as well. Oh, just them again. What's going on outside? Oh, it's just that drunk neighbor. He's just chasing his son down the street, waving a gun around, threatening to shoot him in the back as he runs. No big deal. Back to the football game. So, also... obviously, Rosemary would get beat up a lot. The police would get called all the time, and basically they would tell him, it was back in the day, and they would tell him, "Sir, you have to stop hitting your wife now."
Yeah,
that was it.
Sir.
We're going to leave now, but don't make us come back here. And at one point, Paul Jr. said he actually got arrested because he started trying to attack the officers at that point too. Paul Sr. freaked out and started to attack them, and they were like, "Now that's hit your wife all you want, but this is a bridge too far. You can't take a swing at me."
Don't make me hurt.
No, Paul Jr. said back then there was no recognition of domestic violence being a crime. It was just, oh, come on now, don't disturb your neighbors with your fighting. That was kind of what the cops did.
Not shocking?
That's wild.
That's so unbelievable.
It's crazy.
I mean, we're going to be at a time very soon where, remember when they didn't know what the cause of SIDS was? You know what I mean? Because they just figured that out.
Yeah.
We're going to be in that place someday soon.
Yes, remember that? Wow, that's crazy.
Kids just died and they had no clue why.
Just dropped dead in the crib, and we just took them in, and everyone shrugged their shoulders and went, "Well, that's what happens." That was the whole crowd. Ton of people have tagged us in this because we did an episode where a athlete's brother died of SIDS or something, and we said it's the craziest thing.
Polonies, Olden Polonies, right?
Because it was was it his kid?
Whatever brother, I think.
It was just the craziest thing because we said we both had kids and we both watched them breathe because we were scared of it because it's like
horrifying.
They supposed to be alive? Yes. Yeah. Are they? No. Well, those are the symptoms. Supposed to be and not. And that's it. Like
SIDS.
We can't
Case
live with
closed.
that. Yeah.
That's nuts.
So Mary Ann, the daughter who has the young son who lives there, she left home at 18. Not surprisingly, she got the hell out of there as soon as she could. She ended up marrying a guy named William Van Diver, and he is a mess. He's a sixth of 7 kids, which is fine, but he's a total juvenile delinquent. He watched his crime escalate. He got busted for stealing hubcaps and cigarettes when he was little. Then it moved on to cars. Yeah. And then he ended up doing 2 years in prison for robbery as well.
Oh, boy.
So, it's a lot. Paul Sr., by the way, hates Billy Van Diver. Hates him. He hates everybody, but really hates him.
Yeah.
You don't. I beat my family, not you.
Yeah.
So
it's tough to get on his good side, but he's certainly not on it.
Not on it at all. So Jason, the young son of Marianne, had been staying with the family here because Marianne and Bill were at one point out of money and on the run from the Chicago police. So they swung by, dropped the kid off. You know, when you're on the run from the cops, it's difficult. Remember Adventures in Babysitting? It's hard to haul kids along while you got things going on, you know?
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Even if they got a Thor helmet.
Yeah, that's it. Both of them, Marianne and Billy, have been getting arrested all the time since, like, you know, the last 3-4 years.
Jesus.
Billy recently had charges of aggravated assault. He served time in prison. She's been arrested for possession of a controlled substance, theft, prostitution, you name it. I mean,
That's the daughter?
That's the daughter, yeah. They just went to Chicago and were, you know, really into drugs and living on,
just figuring out how to get by.
Yeah, so it's good that the kid is living with the Camiotis. Yeah. Even this is scarily enough. This is a better environment with an alcoholic who drinks for breakfast and then yells and beats on everybody.
At least he knows what's going to happen tomorrow.
At least they're not on the run from the police currently, which is helpful. Right. None of obviously terrible in all regard, but. So it's a goddamn mess. Also, Billy Van Diver, while serving a Missouri prison term for theft, he was convicted at the same time of charges stemming from a sodomy attack on a fellow inmate. So he's also a prison rapist as well, Billy.
Yeah.
So very nice. Marianne.
She didn't have money. She didn't have the best role model.
I was going to say, she chose a guy just like Dad. Yeah. There you go. Yeah. You wanted, that's what happens.
And up the ante a little bit, too, with the prison rape.
A little more, a little more like Dad than she had bargained for. This is horrible. Later, he was sentenced to 18 months in prison for the shooting of an acquaintance during an argument. So
he's a bad guy.
He's a bad guy, Billy Van Diver.
Jesus.
Let's just say that. Very, very bad. So anyway, the Van Divers were on the run. The kid was there. Marianne ends up living sort of with them, sort of not with them. Billy's kind of around on the run. The kid lives with them. So at one point, Paul Sr. had given his daughter, Marianne, and Billy there canned food to fatten up the young boy.
Okay.
Apparently, because he was so thin, to fatten him up a little bit. He's too thin because they spend their money on drugs and not food for the child.
Yeah, here's some Chef Boyardee.
Apparently, the only person in the world that Paul Sr. was nice to was Lil Jason.
Yeah.
I mean, doted on him, loved him, didn't yell at him, didn't abuse him. Could do no wrong. Sun rose and set with him, but everybody else can go fuck themselves in the whole world. So,
I mean, if there's anybody in the household that I want him to be like that with, it's definitely that kid.
Absolutely,
or his wife.
Jesus.
Yeah.
So he was really mad. Paul Sr. was at his daughter and son-in-law because when they had fled their apartment in Chicago to go on the run, he went to go get some of their stuff and found all the cans stacked in the pantry unopened. So they weren't even feeding the kid. They were just leaving the shit up there.
Man?
So, it's interesting. One person who ended up staying there for a little while said at his house said, he was a little strict about Paul Sr., but I would have to say it was a happy home. Hell, if anyone was having family arguments around here, it was me. So
I don't want to be in that house at all.
I don't want to be
anywhere.
This
is a happy home.
Imagine what that person's house is like originally. So when Marianne and Billy leave the house in early February of '83, she wants to take her son, but Paul Sr. won't let her. Like, you're on the run from the cops. You're not taking the kid. Right. Leave the kid here. So then mid-February comes around, and Paul Jr. and Marianne are discussing what a dick their dad is.
Yeah.
Huge dick, right? I mean, this guy's a huge asshole. He won't let you have your kid. It's your kid. Right. You know, he beat a stutter into me. Like, we don't like him. This is crazy.
Yeah. Dad's a jerk.
Yeah, I don't like him at all. So they said, well, I mean, we could kill him, right?
Yeah.
So then they said, I mean, haha. And then they were like, I mean, we could kill him.
Oh, boy.
I mean, a lot of people hate him. I mean, this could be like who knows who killed him type of thing.
That's a far leap, but okay.
It's a leap, I would say. So they talk about it a little bit, and then they say, if we're going to do this, if we're going to seriously talk about this, I mean, obviously, we're going to end up getting caught if we don't have all our bases covered. We need our I's dotted, our T's crossed. Let's get Mom involved in this. What do you say? Let's see if Mom wants in. Yeah. He beats the shit out of her. She's got to be upset. So they go to Rosemary, and they say, listen, Rosemary, Mom.
Ma, we're really thinking about killing Dad.
We're going to kill Dad. How do you feel about that? And she said that, I don't object to the idea out of hand. I mean, we're not going to just jump to conclusions here. I mean, I'm not going to dismiss anything, right off the bat. So she said, but if you're going to do it, please do me this one favor. Do me this one favor.
Do me a solid.
Do it away from the house so I don't have to clean it up, please. Not make sure he doesn't suffer. Shoot him in the head in his sleep. Well, none of that stuff. Just please, not in the house. So if there's brain on the wall, who's cleaning that? Rosemary. That's right. No one else is cleaning it. Paul's going to say he has football practice. You're going to run off somewhere, and then I got the brains on the wall again. No, I don't think so.
They didn't even tell her it's going to be messy. She's just like, dead people, just somewhere else.
I don't want any part of this, please. Okay. So Bill returns to Hammond, Billy, the shithead son-in-law.
Yeah.
And Marianne approaches. If anyone's going to be in on a murder plot, it's Billy Van Diver.
Oh,
it's going to be
guess what?
a prison rapist who shot his friend one time, I would say.
Let's save this for Billy. It's his favorite thing.
Yeah. He's candidate one right here. I mean, if you're going through all your candidates of who could be in on a murder, Billy's A1, I would say. He's the guy. So they say about, we're going to do that. Marianne at this point moves out of the Paul Sr.'s house and Rosemary's house to move into a girlfriend's house with her husband, but leaves Jason behind.
Okay.
Because Billy's not allowed at the house because Paul Sr. will shoot him.
He's a piece of shit.
He's a piece of shit. He's nice to his grandson, and he's good radar on a son-in-law that sucks. Those are the only good things.
So far, this is positive qualities.
Paul Sr. So from February until about mid-March, conversations rage about various plots to kill Paul Sr.
Weeks and weeks they're sitting around.
Yeah, they're ideas. We got to go through ideas. Yeah. So here we go. Let's go through the list of ideas. These are amazing. Okay. This is awesome. Idea number one. This is
first draft.
First draft. Okay. This is, super easy here. He goes to the bar all the time. Let's just have it so one of these days he walks out of the bar late at night and looks like a robbery. Somebody shoots him. He's dead outside the bar. That happens all the time. People get robbed on the street.
Solid plan.
Done and done, right? But then they're like, well, who are we going to get to shoot him? We don't want to do it out in the open like that. That's risky. What if somebody walks out of the tavern as I'm pulling the trigger and, that's not good.
You've seen me.
Yeah, and then they're like, if we hire somebody, then that's another person that's involved in this. So maybe that's not
witnesses and loose ends.
Yeah, Billy actually was the guy who nixed this idea and was like, we don't. Yeah. This is why they brought him in on this. He's got the criminal mind to say, I think we're going to get caught if we do that.
Yeah, if you want investment opportunities, you call in an investment banker. So if you want a murder done, you call in a goddamn murderer.
You'll call in a roofer to fix your pipes is what's going on here. So that's what's going on. Hey, everybody, just going to take a quick break from the show to tell you about the safest sponsor ever, Simply Safe. Absolutely. These people will keep you safe. It's amazing. You know that every 26 seconds a burglary takes place in the United States, according to the FBI. That means that by the time this podcast is over, dozens and dozens of homes will have been targeted, ransacked. God knows what happens here. So protect your home before it's too late with Simply Safe proactive security system. Simply Safe helps stop threats before they even have a chance to break in. Named Best Home Security System by U.S. News and World Report 5 years in a row. And by us for about the last 8 years as well. If you trust us, believe me, you want Simply Safe. So visit simplysafe.com/small to claim 50% off a new system with professional monitoring plan and your first month free. That's simplysafe.com/small. There's no safe like Simply Safe.
Now back to the show.
This show, Small Town Murder, is brought to you by BetterHelp. Get yourself some therapy, everybody. Honestly, here. We often hear about, red flags that you should avoid. Hey, that's a lot of a thing. It's become a real phrase now, real cliche. But why don't you focus also, you look at like green flags in friends and partners. Look for good things as well.
Right.
And maybe you're not sure what that looks like, though. Therapy can help you figure that out. What are positive things? What are the green flags? And then you can practice them in your relationship. It's absolutely a fact. And so, honestly, we absolutely are huge advocates for this. It really, really helps. BetterHelp is fully online, making therapy affordable. It's convenient. They serve over 5 million people worldwide. You can access a diverse network of more than 30,000 credentialed therapists, wide ranges of specialties there. Here's the coolest part. You're not getting along with your therapist, you're just not feeling it, you can switch at any time, no extra charge.
Wow.
The thing is, they want you to get help. That's it. And you can do it with BetterHelp. Discover your relationship green flags with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/smalltownmurder today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/smalltownmurder.
Now back to the show.
Yeah.
Idea number 2. All right, here we go. Now, Paul Sr. takes numerous medications he's got emphysema, heart disease, he's got all sorts of problems. The first thing they end up actually going to follow through with is they're going to try to poison him.
Oh, okay.
With medication type of deal. So, Rosemary, they enlist her to do this. She purchases some nitroglycerin from the pharmacy where she works. Okay. She works in a pharmacy, and she gives it to Paul along
Junior.
With the medication.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, so along with the medication. So that'll get his heart going.
So that's an attempt.
That's
She's
an attempt.
doing it.
Yeah, no, that's a first attempt, okay? They crushed up the nitroglycerin outside of a local Dairy Queen.
Yeah.
Imagine these two. It was Billy and Paul Jr. sitting outside a local Dairy Queen crushing up nitroglycerin tablets there. And Billy and Paul substituted nitroglycerin for his medication in hopes of causing a heart attack. They sat there, fingers crossed, going, anything?
Yep.
The next day, Rosemary came and said, no go. She didn't die. He said he had nausea. He was a little dizzy. He threw up once, and he had some headaches, but no die. So,
I mean, if you want a guy with emphysema and heart problems to die, you could just wait
a minute. Just wait a little while.
Give it some time.
But he's one of these old crusty bastards that just he's going to carry
stick
on.
Around.
He's going to live to be 90. This guy just beating everybody up with his cane.
Angry for the next 25 years.
Yeah,
sitting in his good chair.
They've had enough. But at some point too, if you keep trying and you can't pull off a murder, maybe you go, maybe it's not meant to be. Maybe
we can't do this.
Maybe I'm not good at this,
And, maybe we just did enough damage internally that we just sped the clock up.
And now we waited.
We don't have to wait as long.
Now we wait. So idea number 3. Here we go. So the prescription for nitroglycerin didn't work. But they said, what if we substitute rat poison for his medication? That'll certainly do it.
Should work. Yeah,
that seems better. So one of them, either Billy or Paul Jr. purchases the rat poison, and Paul brings the medication to Bill, who substituted it with the poison because it's the pills that I think that you can pull apart and put different powders in. That's what they're doing.
Sure.
So puts rat poison in there and gives it to Paul to give to Rosemary. So Rosemary, they wait a couple days. Everybody waits. And waits for Rosemary's reports of imminent death here.
Sure.
Rosemary then calls Miriam a couple days later and said, he's been sick, but
Marianne, you mean?
Yeah, or Marianne. Rosemary calls Marianne, the daughter, and they're like, I've been giving him the rat poison, and he's sick and stuff, but he's not dying. I don't know what's...
He's doing great.
This is how toxic this man is. He's already... he's like Rasputin. Like, he's got such a level built up of just toxicity in his body. You give him poison, he doesn't die. He's a fucking mess, this guy.
You can't make toxic waste worse.
No, not at all. Not at all. So they keep trying to do it. So then he says, if I don't feel better tomorrow, I'm going to go to the doctor. Mm-hmm. So that's when Rosemary discontinues the rat poison and says, we don't want the doctor to figure it out. And then that's it. And then he's going to be aware of this and he's going to kill all of us. So not good.
Right.
So idea number 4 comes along.
I'm impressed that they could get the pills back together because I've had them like in my pocket and they separated and I went to put them back together. And there's always a wrinkle and a seam there. It's always obvious that you put it back together.
You're also not a junkie.
Excellent point.
Junkies will sit there. They'll do it. Junkies will put if it's something to do with drugs or something.
Lick it.
They'll make it work. Trust me.
Make it match up.
Yeah, we've all seen people with drugs figure it out. And it's remember Dope Sick Love when the guy had a bent needle. He's like, I'll make it work, and
I'll get
it. They'll figure it out.
He's got a metal tube that's literally pinched, and he's still got drugs through it.
He figured it out, man. That's what I mean. Where there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, they do that. So now they need another idea. Okay, next idea. All right. Bill and Marianne bought a syringe. Okay.
Yeah.
Billy and Marianne bring in a syringe and a vial of what's called in the court documents liquid poison. So,
whatever the fuck that is.
Whatever it is.
Could be anything.
Liquid poison just sounds so. It's all poisonous and it's liquid. Yeah, it's. Where do you get that?
Where do you keep your liquid poison? Which shelf is that?
No, I know there's liquid smoke and liquid nails and liquid paper, but I'm looking for the liquid poison. Do you have that? I understand that. But
liquid smoke.
I've heard of that.
Yeah.
Liquid nails, liquid paper. I got all that shit. White out.
All that checks out.
I'm looking on that shelf. I don't see any liquid poison. If I know the liquid.
I'm on the liquid aisle. You only got 3 products.
Nothing? Shit, all right.
There's a 4th, I promise.
Fuck it, I guess. I don't know. Never mind.
Liquid poison.
Call this a Walgreens. And you roll your eyes and walk out.
How dare you?
How dare you call this a CVS? This is
liquid
bullshit.
aisle, pretty naked.
I'm not seeing any liquid poison. So they deliver this syringe and the vial to Rosemary at the pharmacy, and they told her one thing they're good at. They know how to load a syringe, so they showed her how to do it. And the next day, Rosemary said that she told Marianne, I put the poison in his coffee, but nothing happened. He just drank it, and then he went on with his day. So this is shitty liquid poison. It really is. I mean, if you can... If
anything, this ad is this show is an ad for booze.
Yeah.
Drink enough booze and nothing kills you.
You're impervious to this shit.
Yeah.
They just squirted some in there like it was fucking sweetener. And you had Sweet and Low or some shit in there. It's
liquid poison and Sweet and Low.
Wow. I like it poisony and sweet, just like... Anyway.
1 poison, 2 sugars, please.
2 sugars, 1 poison. Thank you. Delicious. Gives my skin a nice glow. I like it. So, idea number 5. Wouldn't you give up by now? 3 strikes?
By now, it's like this.
3 strikes.
We just wait.
Yeah.
We just wait.
3. We're not. Just wait. Everyone, we're not murderers, right? No, not at a plan, not to get away with it.
In this group,
no.
Even the prison rapist isn't a murderer.
So he could kill him, but getting away with it. This is a plan to get away with it. If you just wanted him dead, he'll go stab him in the throat, no problem. But then what? Rape his throat hole. He'll have no problem with that. Billy's down. So, idea number 5 is Rosemary purchases more nitroglycerin. They're back to nitroglycerin, but
back to square one.
I picture a big
big
whiteboard like in Always Sunny with like terrible ideas on it and stuff crossed out, and then there's an arrow going back to idea 1. Like we'll go back to we're revisiting nitroglycerin today.
Charlie probably would have had better ideas. We could feed him a whole bunch of cheese.
Yeah.
That makes me sick.
That makes me sick. I mean, he's got heart problems. Cheese will mess him up, right?
What if we tickle him to death? Sometimes I can't breathe when we have tickle fights.
Maybe it'll get him. We could scare him. Just jump out from behind a corner when he's walking and go, boo.
Let's play night crawlers.
He'll drop.
Death.
Yeah. He'll drop, man. So she gave it to Paul along with the medication there. And Paul, they switched it, did the same thing, crushed it up. Billy did the pill switch. But Paul Sr. became sick from his dinner before they could give him the poison. He had to eat food to take his pills, and the food made him sick, so then he didn't take his pills. So that's hilarious. Food poisoning saved his life. So anyway, that attempt was unsuccessful. So next up, they're like, okay, let's do, you know what? We need to be a little more aggressive here. This is all, we're dancing around it. This is like the first round of a prize fight. We're feeling it. This is bullshit. Here we go. This is what we're going to do. Billy and Paul decide, Rosemary, here's what you're going to do. You're going to render him unconscious with a rag full of ether. Now we're going into like wrestling ideas. Like, we'll put some ether on him and then shave his head.
Yeah, we're going to get dirty this time.
So now, after he's unconscious from the ether, now we have a minute to do what we need to do.
Yeah.
We'll take the syringe that we had that we were going to inject liquid poison into something, and we'll inject an air bubble into one of his veins and kill him that way, which is a
air bubble.
very junky way to do it.
Yeah.
So they ended up abandoning the plan because when they all crept in there to do it, rag of ether, fucking air bubble-filled needle, they saw that Jason was sleeping with Paul Sr. He's sleeping there on his shoulder.
Can't do it then.
So they're like, shit, okay, well, we can't. We don't want the ether around the kid, so they don't do. At least they had the decency to not ether the
Murder
kid.
with a kid present. Yeah.
You know, right there. So Bill and Marianne end up leaving for Georgia. They said at that point they had no further part in the whole deal in their mind. They're going to Georgia. They don't give a fuck. Fuck everyone here in Indiana. They get to Louisville the next morning. Marianne calls Rosemary, and Rosemary was upset because Paul Sr. was threatening to check her purchases that were charged at her place of employment, and she was afraid that they would discover not only all that stuff, but also she had loaned Marianne some money, which was also going to be a beating.
Oh, boy.
The whole thing's terrible. So Bill and Marianne turn around and go back to Hammond, like, we got to go back and take care of business.
Yeah.
So later that night, Rosemary contacts Bill and Marianne at their hotel and says that Paul Sr. is running around, yelling, screaming, swinging a belt at Paul Jr., threatening to cause trouble at school and her place of employment. I'll fucking go down to the school.
Yeah.
I'll beat your boss up with my belt down at your pharmacy. Like, he's literally saying shit like that. I'll go down there and kick a hole and fuck, old Margie that works the register. I will beat her ass. I'm not kidding you. I will.
Well, maybe this is side effects from all the chemicals that he's had injected into his body.
That's the other thing. So Paul gets on the phone, Paul Jr., and says, we got to do something tonight. So they plan to inject air into his veins that night again. So 1 a.m., they enter the house. It's March 20th, 1983, 1 a.m., Bill and Marianne enter the house once Paul Jr. signals that Paul Sr. is, away. So Billy Van Diver and Paul Jr. go to Paul Sr.'s bedroom. And at that point, they hear scuffling. Marianne from the outside of the bedroom hears scuffling, and they hear Paul Sr. cry out for help. Okay? So Paul Jr. is holding his father down while Billy Van Diver is trying to smother him with a pillow. This is really bad. They're really bad at this.
Real rudimentary murder.
This is really, don't even try. Just put a pillow over his face.
Very basic.
It works in the movies. A guy's older, you just put a pillow over his face, he struggles a little, and then he dies. So at one point, he woke up, obviously. He even yelled out, son, can't we work something out? Because he sees his son is holding him down.
Oh, it's so heartbreaking.
Well, remember, he's an alcoholic who beats people by 9 in the morning. So let's keep that in mind before we are too heartbroken about it. So he's repeatedly also hollering for Rosemary. Help me, Rosemary. They're on me. They're on me. So he's not dying from the pillow. They can't get that to work. So finally, Billy says, fuck this, and pulls out a fish fillet knife and just starts to fucking shank his ass.
Oh, Jesus.
Just starts to shank him. He stabbed him. Later on, Billy will say that he stabbed him over 100 times.
Yep.
But the coroner only finds about 40 stab wounds. So you lose count after a while when you're in a rage, apparently. Also,
prison rapists are not the best at math.
Yeah, they're notoriously bad at it.
Bad counters.
So, they're stabbing Paul Jr. or Paul Sr. in the back with a fish fillet knife. It's the one he always had on him. I don't know why he didn't think of that to begin with.
Yeah.
So they hit Paul Sr. over the head 5 or 6 times with a gun also. That did nothing. So he's not dead. They're stabbing him 40 times. He's still alive. They're beating him in the head with a gun. He's not dead. He's still not dead.
Oh, my God.
So they hit him again. He's still not dead.
Oh, my God.
By the way, 34 of the knife wounds were of the deep penetrating variety.
Yeah.
So he's still breathing at this point. Still not dead. It's at this point where they're like, well, we better dispose of him. So
you can't dispose of a live body.
Well, you can if you go into the garage
Yeah.
And you come back with a hacksaw and a crosscut saw.
Oh, while he's alive?
They reach the bedroom. Paul Sr.'s still alive.
Yeah.
Paul Jr. Holds him down, and Billy starts to saw his head off with a hacksaw while he's still alive.
Holy shit, man.
He finishes. He saws Paul Sr. His cause of death was decapitation.
Decapitation. Holy motherfuck. Are you kidding?
They sawed this man's head off of his body while he was alive.
Holy, that's cold shit, man.
Attempt with the smother with the pillow, beating with the gun, stabbing 40 times, over 40 times in the back and all this type of shit, and then had his head sawed off while he was still alive.
Unbelievable.
This is... wow.
Holy shit, man.
Do you see why we couldn't just not tell this story? And let it... This is...
oh, my God.
Fucking bonkers. This is crazy shit. So... yeah, they're like, God damn.
That is heavy.
They get his head off. This is why Marianne or Rosemary didn't want this in the house, because now this is a lot to clean up.
God damn it.
When you saw the head off a live person, I assume there's a lot of blood probably from that.
I'll bet that's the most.
The most, probably. It's got to be like a Golden Corral chocolate fountain at that point.
It's just everywhere.
So they get his head off. And then Rosemary, Bill and Paul come out in the living room, and Rosemary and Marianne join them, and they're all standing there, and they're like, well, his head's off, so that's a good sign.
It's done now, I think.
Rosemary says, well, let's have a drink to celebrate.
Oh, boy, Rose.
So, yeah, they did that. They have a drink. They all sit around, and a job well done. So now they have to get rid of this body.
Yeah, now the disposal.
They decide to tell people that he left suddenly on a fishing trip, one of those sudden fishing trips that come up in mid-March in Indiana. Yeah. It's very sudden. So they ended up, got all his tools and all this shit. They gathered up all his clothes that he wore that evening. They went through his wallet. They kept some of his credit cards and destroyed other credit cards for some reason. They dismember the body, Billy and Paul. Take it apart, dismember it, placing it in a number of separate garbage bags. They would, at one point, take breaks because of dismembering a body is a long process. They'd take smoke breaks. At one point, Billy offered Rosemary Paul Sr.'s dick as a joke. Said, you want to keep this? Literally had it in his hand. He goes, you want to keep this with you or whatever? Ha, ha, ha.
Joke.
They all laughed about it.
Paul wouldn't have laughed.
No.
He had no sense of humor.
Very little sense of humor. Now, if you can't laugh at that, they always say if you can't laugh at yourself, you know what I mean? So they said they used the knife instead of a saw because the saw teeth would plug up with fat and flesh, so they complained about that.
Dear God.
They casually commented on the amount of fat around his heart. They said it would look like a chicken heart. Look at that. They were just real callous about the whole thing. Nobody really gave a shit. So they disposed of it along Lake Michigan with other evidence of the crime there.
Sure.
And then Rosemary and Marianne cleaned up the bedroom where all of it took place. That was it. Then Paul Jr. gave them $5,200 and let them escape to Vegas, Billy and Marianne. And that was that. So people only noticed that he's missing. The only people that notice he's missing are his bar friends. They're right? Paul ain't been in a while, has he? I don't think he has. I ain't seen him.
This happy hour ain't very happy. Where's Paul?
Where's Paul? But Rosemary just said he's on a fishing trip. But it's March, so they're like, and they all
still.
And they talk to him. What do you think you talk about in a bar? Fishing. Fishing comes up.
Yeah.
And they said that he always said the only time he ever goes fishing are day trips with his grandson to like a local lake for 2 hours. He doesn't go on long fishing outings. So they're
excursions.
Yeah, they're suspicious. So eventually, Rosemary files a missing person report, but her story is ridiculous. It's asinine. So eventually she said, okay, he's dead, cut up in a bunch of garbage bags around the lake.
Uh-oh.
They didn't believe her. They were like, Rosemary, seriously, where is he?
Stop with the jokes, Rosemary.
Yeah.
You're so funny.
Fuck, I get that you feel free and you think people might laugh now because Paul Sr.'s not around. Now someone might laugh, but seriously. So they said, fine, we'll go walk around the lake. They see a pile of construction debris. And, they said there it was. They found him in there. All the different parts. And the police officer said there was, quote, there was not the reaction you'd expect to see for a kid who helped bury his dad. They're talking about Paul Jr. No love, no remorse, no empathy, no hesitation.
Oh, boy.
That's wild. Billy will surrender, he said. He said if he could visit his parents' home for about an hour, then he'll surrender, is what he said. That's what he said. Let me visit my parents and I'll surrender. He's like negotiating.
Have a nice lunch.
With I want to go hang out with my mom for a while.
Taste mom's tater salad one last time.
So, he said that on the way back, he gets extradited from Nevada back here. Actually, they end up getting him in Missouri. He didn't make it all the way to Vegas. Oh. And in the back of the car, he tells the cop, quote, if I get more than 20 years for this, I'd rather fry. That's what he wants. So, that's how it works. So, it's pretty fucking interesting here. They end up getting, Paul Jr. here to they tell the whole story. Rosemary doesn't mind telling the story. That's the other thing.
She's having a good time.
No, and they manipulate Billy Van Diver pretty good in the interrogation. The cop says after an hour or so of conversation, I started a hypothetical thing playing on his ego. If you had killed him, how would you do it? He said, and he laid this whole thing out as I was taking notes. When he finished, all that I said was, you and I both know that this isn't hypothetical, is it, Bill? You just told me exactly what happened to him. Like,
how would you kill someone? I don't know. I'd probably try to smother him, and if that didn't work, maybe stab the shit out of him, beat him with a gun.
But
and then if that didn't work, hell, I'd just decapitate him.
I mean, that's quick, right? So, they read the statement. Van Diver started to cry when they read the statement given to police by Paul Jr., and they said, quote, the first words out of his mouth were, I did it for them, and they were trying to pin it on me now. Them sons of bitches.
You did it. Nobody's pinning anything.
You did it, motherfucker. So everybody was blaming everything else. They find him in a half dozen plastic bags 50 feet from the Lake Michigan shoreline.
Good Lord.
Rosemary, Paul Jr., William, and Mary Ann, all indicted on the murder, obviously, there.
All of them.
All of them. Who was it? Mary Ann ends up agreeing to become a witness against her family.
Sure.
No, I'm sorry. It's it's her. Mary Ann. No, it's Mary Ann, the daughter.
Did it? Wow.
She's going to be a witness against her family, mother and all, if she has her charges reduced from murder to assisting a criminal, which is a lot less than murder. And she's released on $7,500 bond.
Holy shit.
They were like, you're good, and just patted her on the back and sent her on her way. Rosemary and Paul Jr. have a joint trial here. And they have all their statements. It's pretty fucked here.
Pretty damning, yeah.
Verdict, they're guilty, obviously. Mm-hmm. The sentencing, they said the mother and this is the prosecutor, that the mother and son showed a blackened character of epic proportions without historical precedence.
Okay.
That's a lot there. Yeah. That's a lot. They said it seems this whole family is genetically free of feelings. Genetically free of feelings. Wow.
I mean, that's sociopaths, right?
That is awesome. Yeah, they're just, they don't even care. So he says,
genetic Ajaxes, these people.
Fucking clean slates. You, ma'am and sir, may fuck off. They're both sentenced to 45 years on the conspiracy to commit murder charge and 55 years on the charge of murder in the first degree.
Pretty well over for them.
It's a lot, yeah. And they said, too, that the Paul Jr. was bragging and boasting in jail.
Don't do that, sir.
He bragged to some woman that he met, too, and she said it didn't faze him. No emotion, no remorse. He was just like, yeah, we totally killed her. No problem. So William's trial here, Billy's trial, he claims Rosemary gave him $1,700 and Paul Sr.'s truck. And by the time the trial comes around, he recants his confession. and blames the whole murder and the decapitation on Paul Jr. He just stood by watching while Paul Jr. ran amok on this motherfucker.
I've been to jail, so Paul probably just figured I know this stuff, so I just stood there and just like a good journeyman gave the apprentice all the instructions. He did. He did the job.
I'm the supervisor, and at some point you got to teach the next generation how to do it. You know what I mean? So the doctor did a workup on him, on Billy, and he said, this is not a story of murder, family intrigue, greed, and dark passions, but as good a look at the proverbial beast in man, is what he said. Wow. He also said that Billy probably gets a vicarious kick out of recounting the details. That's why he confessed.
Wow.
He said he's mentally cool, alert, and sharp. So they said he's totally cool for trial and for sentencing.
Yeah.
Jury finds him absolutely guilty as shit,
sure.
Obviously. This is all his idea. And sentencing comes around. William decides he's not going to fight the sentence and waives all of his appeals, wants nothing to do with that. He said, whatever you want to do to me, do to me.
I'll take it.
They said, you, sir, may fuck off, death penalty.
Oh, you shouldn't have done that.
He said he'd rather fry. I mean,
yeah, he did.
He tried to paint himself as a victim of a family plot, and he was just caught up in it like a
pawn. Yeah,
he was caught up in it like some kelp in a wave. There's just nothing you can do.
Misguided kids.
Misguided kid. And he says this. He has an appeal, and then he wants to waive further appeal. So they have to have a hearing to see if he's like okay to waive all of his further appeals. Yeah. And he says, and I quote, well, I turned myself in. I admitted to the crime. I see no sense in wasting everybody's time. At the best that could happen, I would end up doing 45 years, and I'm going to die there anyway, so why prolong it? You know, there is no need. I'm going to die there regardless, so I don't see no sense in setting there when it's going to happen anyway. Well, to me, being executed would be less than getting a tooth pulled. It would be over with. My family wouldn't have to suffer no more, my friends or the people that are concerned. It would be over with. I see no sense in dragging them around for another 10 or 15 years and having to depend on them. I see no sense in that either. I'm a gambler. I was taking a gamble. The gamble didn't pay off. I see no sense to proceed any further with anything. He's a gambler, Jimmy.
Yeah. Kenny Rogers told him to know when to fold them.
You got to know when to hold them. Know when to waive your appeals. Know when to sit down in the electric chair and fry. You got to count your last meals. Just get a pizza. Just get that stuffed crust and you'll die with a stomach ache. That's right. Okay, so.
Get the worst food you can. Ain't no time to digest it when the needle's done.
His lawyer, this is the cop who did the first interview, said he's the kind of guy where life or death means nothing to him, but other than being a cold-blooded killer, he was a pleasant guy to sit and talk to.
Gross.
Doesn't mean he's not a decent shit, as they would say. In prison, he does all sorts of crazy Jesus colored pencil sketches.
Really?
Oh, all sorts of artsy, all sorts of religious pictures with colored pencils. October 17th, 1985, by the way. So this is like
fast.
2 years later. That's execution day.
Wow.
They bring Mary Ann, who is serving her prison sentence at another prison. They bring her in to visit, which is highly unusual. They never do that. Yeah. And they said it was not something that they'd ever heard of before. A bunch of court people said they'd never heard of that before. But
prisoner to visit a prisoner before they go?
Yeah, that's crazy. They never get to do that. And it's weird that she would want to even. And she turned on him and testified against him.
What's the deal?
Last meal, pizza and Coke, soda. Pizza and Pepsi, last meal there. That's not bad. I mean,
it's all right.
What you'd be craving in prison.
Yeah.
Very common. Last words? This is a great last words. Any last words, Billy? His last words, quote, no comment.
I don't want you to know what my last words are. No comment.
No comment. Maybe later.
That is stubborn as fuck.
That is fucking stubborn. It's a wooden electric chair.
Wow.
They put him in
He's
it.
going like this?
Oh, yeah.
Oh boy!
It was fashioned from the gallows when they took down the hanging gallows. They used the wood and made an electric chair out of it.
That's like an extra fuck you.
It's an extra big. There's a lot of bodies on this wood.
We don't want to waste the wood, so we just figure we'll make it into this.
Yeah. Well, it didn't go according to plan. Apparently, he was still breathing after the first administration of 2,300 volts, and 500 volts was applied again. Then this current was applied 3 more times before he was finally pronounced dead 17 minutes later.
Oh, my God.
They just repeatedly cooked him for 17 minutes over and over. They kept saying, still too rare, put him back on.
Oh, Percy. What the sponge.
This isn't good for any, but we don't want to do that. They said that they had checked the electric chair 3 times by a private contractor, and it functioned flawlessly. They don't understand what the fuck happened. They're very embarrassed by all of it.
Oh, I'm sure.
Now, very quickly, Paul and Rosemary have appeals. They don't go anywhere. Paul Jr.'s paroled in 2019.
Yeah.
They write in the Chicago Tribune, I believe, there's a big fluff piece on him talking about, he's going to be good now, and he was a kid when his family did all this crazy shit. So they let him.
He took his dad's top off, for Christ's sake.
Yeah, but he's the kind of a victim they make him out to be.
Holy shit.
He ends up getting out on parole, and he goes back to jail like almost immediately.
Of course.
Yeah, he admitted visiting. He left the city where he wasn't supposed to, did some shit he wasn't supposed to, and ended up getting put back in jail here. September 2009, Rosemary wants out, even though she's got a 100-year sentence. Yeah. And they said, nope, sorry.
Stick around.
But they do let Paul Jr. out again in 2010.
Yeah.
He gets in a bike accident and fucks himself up. I mean, he's a fucking mess. He was in a coma for 22 days and went through 7 surgeries, Paul Jr.
Oh, so he was out in 2009.
Yeah, then he went in and then got back out
2019.
Again.
I just want to make sure.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, 2009. Yeah. His nose was sheared from his face. His chin broken in 2 places. Upper lip sliced off. Lost 12 bottom teeth. Half his tongue. Broke both eye sockets. Tore facial muscles and fractured over 50 facial bones.
On a motorcycle?
On a bicycle. Bicycle.
How do you go over the handlebars that hard?
Somehow his bike escaped with barely a scratch, they said. It was totally fine.
He went over the bars and landed on his face.
Yeah. Well, he sues the city saying that there's a hole, a big hole in the sidewalk, and he flipped off of his bike and landed on his face.
Okay.
So he sues the city, but then the judges in this panel rule 3-0 that he was drunk riding the wrong way on the street. So your fault, asshole. And they go, you go fuck yourself, and they send him back. They say he's responsible for his bike crash. Eat dicks. 2013, Rosemary dies in prison at 86.
Oh.
Poor Rosemary.
Yeah, well,
she had a shit life.
Happens.
2013, also, Paul is arrested again.
Oh, boy.
For dealing drugs like a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
He also is arrested and convicted of charges of trespassing and attempted theft and receives a year in prison on each charge. And then he was released in prison again in March of 2014. And this moron's out there somewhere. So,
wow.
There you go, everybody. That's Hammond, Indiana.
Jesus Christ.
That's why we had to tell you that story.
Paul out there wandering around fucking up, and the daughter's probably fucking up somewhere.
Jesus, probably. I hope.
Oh, poor Jason. I hope Jason's okay.
What a fucking mess. Well, 2 dead. Billy's dead, too.
Yeah.
So 3 out of the whole crew are dead.
Yeah.
It's a mess.
Oh, boy.
That's why we had to tell that story. And if you saw the virtual live show, we kind of filled in a lot more detail around stuff and kind of their backgrounds. But holy shit, this was a story that needed to be told. A Mr. Magoo killing, and one of the most brutal killings we've ever had in the history of the show.
Ever. That's unbelievable.
It was fucking disturbing and disgusting. That said, join us every week. Listen on Thursdays to Small Town Murder, the regular length show, and also on every Monday or every Tuesday to Crime and Sports.
Pull this motherfucker into the station.
Choo-choo. All aboard. We're pulling in. Everybody get the fuck off the train now. Everybody off. There you go. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
If you like Small Town Murder, you can listen early and ad-free now by joining Wondery Plus in the Wondery app or on Apple Podcasts. Prime members can listen early and ad-free on Amazon Music. Before you go, tell us about yourself by filling out a short survey at Wondery.com/survey.
Have you ever gotten a message out of the blue? Maybe you ignore them. Or maybe you end up in conversation. Maybe they tell you about an amazing offer. I can really show you how to make some money. And maybe that gets you into a lot of trouble. But this isn't a story about people like you, the people receiving these messages. This is a story about the people behind the messages, on the other end of the line. Thousands of them, working in a microcity built for scammers. From Wondery, the makers of Dr. Death and Kill List, comes Scam Factory, a new series about survival at the expense of others. Follow Scam Factory on the Wondery app or wherever you get your podcasts. You can listen to Scam Factory early and ad-free right now by joining Wondery Plus in the Wondery app or on Apple Podcasts.